Coming up next on Backchecking the Bolts, Chabot, who was injured in their previous game, he's now out 4 to 8 weeks. You're talking about a guy with 7 goals, almost 30 points, and he plays 22 minutes a game. You're losing him at the wrong time of the season. That's a tough loss for the Sens.
Welcome to Backchecking the Bolts. Backchecking the Bolts is your cup of coffee to get you the latest on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Join host Jason Linkus and the managing editor of Raw Charge, Justin Godfrey, as they break down the Lightning's most recent games and go beyond the highlights, telling you what the box scores didn't. It's time to drop the puck.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Backchecking the Bolts. Hi, I'm your host, Jason Linkus, and as always, I'm joined by the managing editor of Raw Charge. You can see him at www.rawcharge.com. He is Justin Godfrey. Justin, you're at the arena tonight to see the game. Give us that instant reaction.
Well, instant reaction, maybe they may not let me come in the building anymore. The Lightning are now
congratulations.
0-1. Yeah, the Lightning are now 0-1 in games I've attended live this year. First game was back earlier in the season when they lost to Chicago, so at least they dug a point out of this one. It was an interesting kind of game, honestly. It was another slow start for the Lightning, kind of like what we saw against Minnesota. They weren't very engaged in the first period. By the time they're kind of into it, a couple fights, Holmberg had a scrap. Perry almost got into another fight. By the time they got into it, they're down 3-1, early in the second period. I thought from the second period, from that third goal on from Seattle, I thought the Lightning were by far the better team. If you look at the numbers, it was almost a dominating run. And even Coach Cooper alluded to it after the game. He said, sometimes you can win the score but lose the game. And that's kind of one of those. It was one of those games for the Lightning. I mean, I just jotted down a couple things. They had 72% of the shot attempts. They had 67% of the shots on goal, and they had 67% of the scoring chances as well. So most of the game was played in the Seattle zone. A couple things that did stand out for me from a Seattle point is they limited the Lightning to 5 high danger chances. I mean, if you look at the heat map from the Lightning, they shot from all over the place, but that front of the net area wasn't, one of the places that they got a ton of chances from. So Seattle really boxed it in. They blocked. There's some dispute as to this number. I've heard about 3 different numbers already, but from what I saw on Natural Stat Trick, they blocked 30 shots. Seattle blocked 30 shots on the night. Lightning were over 70 shot attempts tonight, which is, pretty high for them. Seattle kind of collapsed in, blocked a lot of shots, didn't allow a lot of second chances. So, they made it tough for the Lightning to score. So,
I'm going to ask you a quick question about the shot blocks. Is that on the defenseman, or were these shot blocks all over the ice? Were they
kind of all over the
saying
ice.
We're going to cover okay, they're all over the ice. Okay, go ahead.
But Cooper talked about it as well. He said, that's kind of on the Lightning as well. They weren't taking quick shots. They were kind of he said that, maybe they were overthinking it a little bit. And when you do that, especially in the NHL, you give those shot blockers a chance to get out and get in front of the pucks. So the Lightning weren't kind of being instinctive. They were waiting for that perfect shot. They were looking for their lanes. And because sometimes when you do that, it just doesn't happen for them. That being said, from what I noticed, that, kind of down at almost at ice level, there was just a lot of traffic in front of the net, and Seattle did a really good job of getting in those lanes. So it's kind of 6 on one hand, half a dozen on the other. Did Seattle do a good job? Yes, but the Lightning weren't quick and decisive with their shot opportunities either.
Sometimes the best shots aren't the ones that are going on net, and you see certain defensemen. The really good point defenseman, I remember Sergei Gonchar, longtime Washington Capital, played with the Penguins, played with Ottawa for a bit. He was tremendous at not every shot had to be a hard slap shot. It was about getting the puck in the right spot. With Hedman being out of the lineup, you're having to play some other guys bigger minutes. Do you think you missed that element a little bit with him being out?
A little bit. I think a little bit. He is very good at knowing when to risk a shot on net as opposed to taking the big slap shot. Radish is getting a lot better at that as well right now. There was one play that stuck out to me. It was in the third period. Charles-Edouard Destoux, who had a really good game. He had a couple assists on the night. He gets the puck behind the Seattle net and kind of wheels out in front. And Seattle just basically said, hey, you want to take a shot? Take a shot from just to the side of the net. He kind of peeked over his shoulder, instead of just, maybe flipping a backhand on net and looking for a rebound, he kind of skated it back out to the point and wasted it. In my eyes, it was a pretty good shooting opportunity. So I think you got some younger players like this in there. Littleberg's still fairly new as far as an NHL defenseman. So to your point, I do think sometimes that there's a slight hesitation coming back. Maybe they're not quite as confident as just letting their shot rip comes back to haunt them. But that being said, Kucherov only had one shot on net. I think he had 4 shots blocked on the night. So it was kind of a team-wide malaise today a little bit. Overall, not super unhappy about the game. I thought they did a lot of things really well, scoring chances wise. They did give up the 3 goals, but overall, I thought they played pretty solid defensively. I think it was just one of those where Seattle got a couple chances and they put the puck in the net. I mean, it was that simple, especially the overtime goal was one of those couple bad luck chances, bounces for the Lightning, and then Montour makes a great shot.
And Hagel breaks his stick.
Yeah, I think that was a big one. That wasn't something that we noticed live on the shot. But one thing, our vantage for our seats, we were actually right over Montour's shoulder, and you could see him holding the puck. He was waiting for Vasilevsky to kind of anticipate a pass and leave that post a little unprotected. You could almost see him bait him into opening up a little bit. Vasi finally did it, and Montour was able to slide the puck under him. It was a no-look shot. I mean, Montour was not looking at the net when he let that puck go, and it was just a shot that he really put on net. It was, it was a good move at the time. I think it was a good decision. Like you said, as far as maybe not every shot that you put on net is a good shot. I don't think it was a high percentage shot that he put on. He was slightly behind the red line, but in overtime, there's no such thing as a bad shot. And, he baited Vasilevsky into opening up a hole and he put it there. So, it's good move on his part.
Couple key moments also from the game. One, you had Pontus Holmberg stopped on the breakaway, and 2, Hagel stopped in the third period by Grubauer. It's a game of inches, and those 2 plays, Grubauer came up big, especially for a team, and you and I mentioned this on the last podcast. Seattle had lost 4 in a row. Prior to when they played the Lightning last week in Seattle, Seattle was in the playoffs, and now they're on the outside looking in. They actually trail Nashville after the win by 3 points because Nashville also lost tonight to the Devils. But coming into the game, they had a 5-point deficit on that second wild card spot. So you really faced a desperate team. You have to give Grubauer a lot of credit because he came up big for them tonight.
He did. He made several really good saves. You mentioned the breakaway by Holmberg. That shot opportunity in the third period of Brandon Hagel. It was coming off a rebound off of a Yanni Gourde shot. Hagel is one of those kind of came off the pad. Hagel had a pretty good look at the net, but couldn't put the shot past him. So, yeah, I mean, Grubauer did what he had to do to win that game. Even the goals he gave up, Gensel and Perry's goals, both those goals were basically right under the bar. I mean, those were shot maker kind of goals. It's good to see the Lightning bounce back and score those goals. They were down 2 and they managed to get a point. So it's not the end of the world. They're 1 day closer to the playoffs. They're 1 point closer to the playoffs. They still kind of have control of their own destiny. They still have the game in hand against Buffalo. They're only down 2 points. I think they had a 4-point lead on Montreal, who won tonight. In the end, it's not the worst thing in the world. One thing I do like after the Nashville game on Sunday, it's all Eastern Conference teams. It's all teams that they're going to be fighting for playoff spots with. So I think their kind of motivation is going to be a little bit stronger coming out of the gate. There's going to be a little bit more to play for. It's that stretch of the season. It's tough. You're playing a Western Conference team that, if you don't get to 2 points, it's not the end of the world. So I think you kind of saw that a little bit against Minnesota. You saw it tonight. I don't think they were super fired up for this game. Going down the stretch, that's going to change a little bit for them. They got Ottawa on Saturday. That's going to be a division. You got a hot Ottawa team coming in and narrowing the gap between them and the Lightning. So, yeah, I think you're going to see a little bit more spark out of the Lightning early on, and they can carry that through the game.
Before we talk about the games coming up this weekend, Ottawa and Nashville, let's talk a little bit about some NHL news. First of all, the Ottawa Senators who are coming in are going to have some injury issues, especially on that blue line. Thomas Chabot, who was injured in their previous game, he's now out 4 to 8 weeks. You're talking about a guy with 7 goals, almost 30 points, and he plays 22 minutes a game. You're losing him at the wrong time of the season. That's a tough loss for the Sens.
You saw the Lightning go through this earlier in the season when, Hedman was out, McDonough was out, Chernak was out. That happens at the midpoint of the season. You have time to recover. Ottawa's done a ton of work to get back to where they're at right now. And like you said, losing Shabbat, who is a big minutes eater for him, is going to hurt. They've been playing without Jake Sanderson, the young defenseman who probably should be on their top pairing as well when he's healthy. He is supposed to come back. Sanderson's supposed to come back maybe on this trip. The Lightning could see him on Saturday. But another player like Lassie Thompson is a blue liner that's missed the last couple of games. He's day to day. Their goaltending hasn't been the greatest this year. So to lose these defensemen in front of them is just, you wonder if it's maybe a bit too much, if this is the straw that breaks their back, and they kind of go into a slide a little bit. So that being said, they're going to be a lot like the Lightning or like the Kraken were tonight. This is a team that's playing for every point. They're going to come out, no matter who's in the lineup, they're going to, play the Lightning hard. So the Lightning haven't seen them in a while. It's going to be an interesting matchup. But yeah, injuries at this time of year, it's kind of tough. Pittsburgh's going through the same thing now that they've lost Crosby, it looks like, for an indefinite amount of time. We don't know the severity of his injury.
It looks like
But
it's the same injury he had in the Olympics. And I have
yeah,
to say, I mean, I live in Pittsburgh. I see the Penguins almost every single night. Crosby has not looked the same since he came back. And now without him, no Evgeny Malkin, no Anthony Mantha, no Blake Lizotte, they are really crippled at the center position. They're back to having Ricard Raquel, a winger, take faceoffs because
yeah.
they just don't have enough centermen right now for a team that is really in the thick of it. I mean, they're in the playoffs right now by a couple of points. This one is going to be a hard one to overcome if Crosby's out more than a week, because now we're getting to the point there's 10 games left. The schedule is still so condensed.
Yep.
You're going to be playing 4 games in 6 nights pretty much through the balance of the rest of the season. I don't know how they can overcome that. They just and part of it is too, Justin, they don't have a goaltender who can steal you games.
Right.
They have competent goaltending, but they don't have the guy like a Vasilevsky who, if you're being outshot 40-20, can still find a way to get you a W.
It speaks to the depth that the Lightning have put together, over the years. The fact that they can roll in some of these players when they got hurt. Other teams haven't been able to do that, and so they start to drop off. And you kind of wonder if Ottawa and Pittsburgh are in that boat right now where the next man up that they have isn't going to be able to tread water. That's kind of what you want to do while your stars are out, is just have the other players tread water. And, the Lightning had Crozier in and Declan Carlisle and the Stew, all these guys playing bigger minutes. Did they blow the scoring out of the water? No, but they did their job. They held the water, kept the Lightning where they needed to be to let the other stars who were still on the ice, perform. Can the Penguins do that? Can Ottawa do that? Can they outscore their problems? I think that's what you're going to try and see from Ottawa. Maybe they have enough offensive talent where they can outscore some of these defensive deficiencies that they have. But it's going to be an interesting race. We kind of knew it was going to come down to these last 3 weeks or so, just with how crowded the standings were, and injuries are going to play a part in it. But this isn't going to, Ottawa's not going to be the last team to lose a big player down the stretch here. So it's going to be interesting to see how everything shakes out after they start playing everybody head to head.
Well, Justin, let's take a quick look at the Eastern Conference standings first. Let's take a look at the Atlantic. The Sabres are in first place with 96 points. The Lightning are 2 behind with 94. The Lightning do, though, have a game in hand. Montreal 4 points behind Tampa with 90 points. They are in the top 3 in the Metro. Carolina leads the East with 96 points. They have the tiebreaker. The Penguins, who we just mentioned, have 88 points, are in second. The Columbus Blue Jackets, and this is a story not getting enough attention. Rick Bowness takes over this team in January. They're at the bottom of the standings. They have been red hot ever since he took over as head coach. They have 87 points. They're only 1 point behind the Penguins. And in the wild card spots, you have Boston with 88, the Islanders with 87. We had mentioned the Ottawa Senators. They're 1 point out of the wild card with 86. The Detroit Red Wings with 84 points. And I've been telling you about the Flyers the last couple of podcasts. They keep winning. They have 82 points. They're still 5 points out of that spot, but they have a lot of young legs. They're talented. Watch out for will they get there? I don't think so, but they're going to be tough down the stretch.
I think the Flyers are just going to run into too many teams between them or around them right now. I think the Caps are done. The Caps are at 81 points, but they've played 73 games. So I don't think they're going to make the jump up. The Flyers, it's interesting because Ottawa, like we said, Ottawa, you don't know what you're getting out of them right now if they can't overcome these injuries. Detroit's been scuffling of late, although everybody in Tampa is probably going to be rooting for them tomorrow when they take on Buffalo. I would like to see the Red Wings steal a couple points out of that game tomorrow. It's going to be a dogfight coming down. I think Boston's been playing solid enough that they're going to make it. They're going to sneak in either that third spot in the Atlantic or the wild card spot. I think they're fine. That last wild card spot is going to be a dogfight. And with the way the Metro's setting up, I mean, you could be out of the playoffs one day and then in third place the next day, depending on, what other teams around you do. So,
yeah, and it's going to come down to health. Who's healthy? The one thing I will say, and I wanted to mention this before when you were talking about the Lightning injuries earlier in the season, sometimes when you battle injuries early in the campaign, it allows you to get players playing time that you normally wouldn't get a chance to see. One, the coach has confidence in them, so he knows where to play them. Two, the players are playing at a higher speed. They always say once you get to the playoffs, the intensity, the speed of the game is faster. So it's a period of adjustment isn't going to be quite as much. If you're going to have injuries over the course of the season, even though no one wants to go through it, it's sometimes not a bad thing because come playoff time, those players, you know what to expect out of them. Instead of having this guy that comes up from the minors and you're like, hey, where do we put him?
Cooper's, one of his overused sayings is, it's going to take more than 23 players to win a Stanley Cup. The Lightning did it in their cup years. They had a deep roster. They're doing it this year. Like the point you're making, like a player like Destu is, he's getting all these reps under him. You had no idea what he was going to be this year, and if everything had broken correctly, he's probably still down in Syracuse helping them with their playoff run. But he got in early. He showed the coaching staff what he can do. He's getting better. He's adapting to the NHL as well. For me, there's always with young players or new players, there's always two adjustment periods. First is you come into the league. Now you got to deal with NHL speed, NHL talent around you. If you can handle that adjustment, you're going to stick in the league. The second adjustment comes when other teams start scouting you. They start getting tape on you. They learn your weaknesses and your tendencies. If you can make that second jump, if you can adjust to that, adjustment, then you're going to be a good player in the NHL. And I think the Stew's kind of in that mode right now where other teams have scoured what he likes to do and they're defending against it. Now he has to make that second adjustment to, okay, they know I'm going to do this, so now I got to do that. And so I think getting these reps in, as you talked about, helps with that as well. So, the Stew getting this in, again, to go back to Lilleberg, this is his second full year. So he's kind of in that spot as well. There's a lot of tape on him now. They know what he likes to do. Can you make that second adjustment to overcome that? So I think the Lightning are in a good spot. Even if Hedman doesn't come back, it doesn't seem like hopefully it's going to be too long-term with whatever he's dealing with. So there's a possibility he could be back.
Well, Justin, I'm going to stop you right there because there's some certainties in life.
Yes.
Death, taxes, and the nurture marketing trivia question of the day. That's right. It is back. Thanks to the people of Nurture Marketing, we are going to ask Justin a trivia question. He's eventually going to figure out the answer. If you get that answer, send it over to backcheckingthebolts@yahoo.com. If you give me one of the correct answers, you'll be entered to win a Nikita Kucherov jersey, compliments of Nurture Marketing. This goes through the entire month of March. We appreciate Nurture Marketing jumping on with this promotion. Now, Justin, I try to give you some questions that are going to make you think. As I mentioned last episode, I'm going to try to make you the best Tampa Bay Lightning bar trivia participant ever. I'm not really sure how to say that, but okay.
If I ever get on the Jumbotron, the Lightning question of the day, I'm going to be able to answer it.
Okay, Justin. So there's a statistic called plus minus that we all know.
Stat so much, sir.
Okay,
it's
now
my least favorite counting stat, but
I'm
whatever.
Not,
we'll do this.
I'm not counting this year.
All right. Not. Oh man.
Yes, I'm not counting
Sorry,
this
JJ
year.
Moser.
And of the top 7 in team history, one player has 2.
Okay. So how many do I need to name now?
You have to name 6 players total.
6 players. All right. So I'm going to go with Ryan McDonough.
Ryan McDonough, number 1 and number 3 in 2024-25 was a plus 43. It's impressive. And in 2018-19 was a plus 38.
So all right. I'm a third of the way there. Sweet. Victor Hedman. I don't know.
No.
He's never finished in the top 6 or top 7.
No, and I'll tell you, number 7 was a plus 33.
Okay. This is a single season, right?
Single season.
All players or defensemen?
All players.
All
any
players,
Lightning,
okay.
any
Cool.
Lightning player.
I should pay attention to the question if we want
Well,
to keep this under an hour. Andre Palat.
No.
Wow, shocking. Just going with like defensive minded for Anthony Cirelli.
That is not correct.
Jesus.
Well, I might have come up with a really
I
good
think
one
it might
this
have
time.
stumped me here. Yeah. Marty St. Louis.
Yes, Marty St. Louis is 4th, 2003 and 4 plus 35.
All right, so I got 1, 3, and 4. All right.
So MVP, you're plus 35. That's
that's
some impressive stats.
God, I want to say Stamkos, but he gets so many points on the power play that I don't think he's on there. Yeah. I'm trying to think of non-power play people.
You're right to think there.
Yeah. Did Killorn have a good year? Did he ever get to plus 33?
No.
All right. How many defensemen and how many forwards do I have left?
Okay, you have the rest are forwards.
They're all forwards. Okay.
And let's see here. 3 are still playing on the Lightning right now.
Okay. Yanni Gord?
Yes, number 5 plus 34, 2017-18.
Let's see if I can get somebody else on his line. Did Gaudreau have a No, he wasn't there long enough. No, still on the Lightning. So it would have been in the last couple of years.
Yes.
Brandon Hagel?
Yes, Brandon Hagel, 2024-25, also a plus 33.
Yeah, because he scored 35 goals without a power play goal, so it had to be. All right. So I got one more current player and then one former player.
Correct.
All right, current players, top 6. What about Wakey Jakey Gensel?
Nope. Jake the Snake is
plus
not
33.
up there.
33 plus 33.
Think the jersey of this promotion.
Frederick. Kucherov?
Yes.
Wow. Well, I guess, you score 150 points, then you're going to be a plus something or another. So
in 2014-15, he was a plus 38.
Hey, I think he has like 1 5th place Selke vote or something like that.
Is he really?
I was looking. I think he does. I'm not 100% sure on that. I referred to him once, I think in one column as the one shift Selke, because he will, every game, it seems like he'll make an awesome defensive play. And you're like, if he focused on this, he could probably win a Selke trophy. Granted, he would probably only have like 85 points. He's one of these players that if he puts his mind to it, pretty sure he could be one of the top defensive forwards in the league.
I'll say this. One of the best defensive forwards I ever saw was Marian Hossa. He never got enough credit for just how good defensively he was. And I think when he played under Jacques Martin in Ottawa, that really got him in the back-checking mode. But he was a really good back-checker.
Yeah. Like Kucherov has that innate talent to sneak up behind you, lift your stick, and take the puck off of it. There's been a few, especially recently, where he's busted his butt back on the back check and just erased a play. So, yeah, he doesn't. His turnovers are always going to get him no consideration for defensive forward. He has that subtle. I think he has those quick hands, man, and sometimes you can use it for defense. All right,
well, Justin,
we're not done with the contest.
You have one more, and it was in 2014-15, a plus 33.
Tyler Johnson?
Yes.
All right, TJ. He's been in like every single question over the last week or so, I think.
I know. I was actually about to give you a hint and saying, yeah, he was in the last question.
Yeah. So,
well, Justin, good job.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the plus minus stat. I think it's just one of those that you jump on the ice, just as the other team's breaking away, you get dinged with a minus because the guy in front of you was slow on the line change. It is what it is. I think it's a good overview stat. You kind of look at it and then dive deeper into the numbers. I know people were complaining, like Kucherov was a -8 at one point this season, and people were like, "Oh my God, it's the end of the world." I was like, "No, it's Nikita Kucherov. He'll be fine."
What's he,
So
a plus 45 right now?
something like that. Yeah, it's insane
Jeez.
whatever he is now. But yeah, so I mean, again, you score 120 points. Yeah,
You're going to
you
be
pray
on
to
the ice
God
for a
you're.
lot of goals.
I was about to say, you pray to God you're not on the ice for 120 goals against, But yeah, so, but hey, good
Well,
question. I like the question.
Well, thank you very much. That is the Nurture Marketing Trivia question of the day. All you have to do is send one of those answers to backcheckingthebolts@yahoo.com. That will enter you in our contest to give away a Nikita Kucherov jersey, compliments of Nurture Marketing, your IT marketing channel experts. So, Justin, real quick, we got the game coming up against Ottawa on Saturday, Nashville on Sunday. We talked about the Ottawa injuries. Ottawa's a pretty good offensive team. You're probably going to get Linus Ullmark in net. But then the next game, Nashville, who plays at 7 o'clock on Saturday in Nashville, comes back to Tampa for a 4 o'clock start. That is a really quick turnaround time for a back-to-back.
Yeah. It's one of those, when you look at the schedule at first, you're like, oh, both teams are on the back-to-back, so it'll be fair. But the Lightning are at home on Saturday. They have a 1 o'clock game. I think you said this before we started recording. They'll probably be back at home by the time Nashville even starts their Saturday game. So yeah, there's going to be a big advantage for it. I think the Lightning are going to have to push early. Nashville's one of these teams that somehow they're hanging around. They were sellers at the deadline. They got rid of a lot of depth players like Michael McCarron, but they still have Steven Stamkos. They still have Philip Forsberg. They still have people who can score on that team, and they're going to be a tough. No matter how tired they are, it's going to be a tough game for the Lightning. So I think the Lightning are going to have to bring it this weekend. Again, no days off the rest of the way. Ottawa's going to give them fits. They always do. Stutzel, Drake Batherson, for some reason, always seems to torment the Lightning. It's never fun playing against the Kachuk brothers. So, Brady's going to be in there mixing it up. So I think the Lightning kind of got to find that juice early, come out strong. I wouldn't be surprised in the Ottawa game to see maybe Gord or Corey Perry start a fight early, or at least start, face washing some people and just kind of kickstart that team and get them going, get them involved, emotionally early on.
I'm going to talk real quick about the slow starts. That's something that has plagued this team for a large portion of this year. Is it just the fact that this is a veteran team and they realize, hey, it's a 60-minute game? You're looking forward to the playoffs, but why are the Lightning starting off so slow, in your opinion?
I think that's part of it. They don't mind being behind. They don't mind playing from behind. So I think maybe they're like, hey, we're just going to go out. We're going to get our legs under us and we're going to get into our game. Other teams take advantage of that. I was looking at the numbers. It's in our preview, but I want to say over this little winning streak that they're on, I want to say they're getting outscored. I think it's 4-5 in the first period. But in the second and third period, I think the second period, they have an 11-5 edge in goals. And then in the third, it's like 11-3. So they definitely get into their game as it goes on. But yeah, these starts are kind of weird. They've talked about it the last two games where they talked about the Corey Perry fight against Minnesota, where he's sporting. I don't know if you've seen a picture of Corey Perry over the last 2 days, but
I have.
Yeah, he's not taking any family pictures anytime soon. They talked about that Perry fight kind of, giving him a little bit of a spark, and same thing with the Sabourin fight later in the game. But I think it is a very veteran team. They're not going to get nervous about being behind. So I think that does contribute a little bit to their starts. They try and maybe stay a little too even keel. I think sometimes you want to have a little bit more excitement in your game early on, get that, like I said, get those juices flowing, get out there, hit some people, get involved in the game, and then go from there. So it'll be interesting to see how they start the Ottawa game, see how they start the Nashville game. Cooper's going to be telling them, hey, this Nashville team's tired, let's jump on them early. But you still have to execute when you do that. I think if you get too excited, you start missing passes, you start turning the puck over, and it just turns out not very good for you. So we'll see how they come out. Hopefully they can kind of get it going with the early puck drop on Saturday and just kind of get a lead and just kind of put the foot on the throat and just close it out.
Sometimes when you're one of the best teams in the league, you're the hunted, not the hunter. And I think that also could be a reason why you're playing a team that is geared up to play you, and you're going to get their best effort every single night. So, Justin, I know you just got done with the game. What's going on at Raw Charge?
After we shut the microphones off here, I'll throw a quick recap up. I think I mentioned it earlier. We were going to release an article on Hedman. Probably not going to do that now. It just doesn't make sense right now with him being out. For those who aren't aware, Victor Hedman is on personal leave right now. The team isn't releasing any information. Thoughts out to the big Swede and his family. Hopefully everything's okay. But with him out of the lineup, it just doesn't make sense to talk about his season right now. We'll talk about it if he comes back. We'll take a look at a couple things that, special teams has been pretty good lately. Maybe go into why that happens. Just, start thinking about some playoff matchups, start thinking about some East Coast matchups, and have a good time writing about hockey.
Well, you got a couple more games to cover. Ottawa on Saturday, Nashville on Sunday. There's a lot going on at Raw Charge. You can check out Justin at www.rawcharge.com. He's the managing editor, ladies and gentlemen, so it's coming right from his mouth.
That's right.
Or I
You're
should say
stuck
right
with
from
me.
your typewriter.
That's right. You're stuck with the thoughts in this brain right here, so unfortunately, that's it. But we'll see how it goes.
Well, for Justin Godfrey, I am Jason Linkus. Thank you for joining us today on Backchecking the Bolts. We appreciate you being here. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and we hope to see you soon. We'll be back next Monday to recap this weekend's action. Have a great one, and go Bolts.
Go Bolts.
Thank you for listening to Backchecking the Bolts. We are free and available on all platforms, including Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, YouTube, and Deezer. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to subscribe and leave a review. You can follow Justin on Blue Sky at rawcharge.com. You can follow the show on X at Tampa_Bolts_pod and on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Backchecking the Bolts. If you're interested in advertising on the show or partnering with us, you can find more information in the show notes or email Jason at backcheckingthebolts@yahoo.com.